Final night before a game and a late night with the General John McClain. John McClain joins the show. Let's go.
On YouTube, you know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city.
We got a special late nighter. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans digital content. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Almost at 10.4K. Let's get that up. If you missed the interview with Wade Smith earlier today, who was the drunkest guy at Andre's party, check that out. Talked to Mark Berman today. That one drops at midnight. But joining us now, the Hall of Famer, John McClain. With the antique, it ain't John McClain if you ain't got the antique setup behind him. Damn it, John, I've missed you. How you been?
I've been fine, Landry. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We got a little football season going. I know this one's a little bit different for you. What is John McClain doing this season? Like, what is the workload like? Because I don't want you having like some sort of heavy workload. We're not doing daily columns or anything like that, right?
I don't have to worry about transactions, injuries, practice. I write what I want, when I want for HoustonTexans.com. I got a column up with J.J. Watt talking about him in the Hall of Fame in 2028. Talked to him yesterday morning. I got one up where Andre behind the scenes where the fans can't go. And so I tried to provide things that people can't see on their own. I have one tomorrow about the state of the offensive line, where last year they led the NFL in injuries, had to start 11 different linemen, and they're playing down. And I know it's early, but they still got three starters out. It seems like the offensive line always has issues. And, of course, I'll watch the game. I don't have to write on deadline anymore. Don't have to do report cards. I do 2 hits a week on QRIV on Friday and Monday morning with Nate Griffin. I do a weekly video with Mattress Mac talking about Houston sports, and I do Texans radio on Sports Radio 610 Thursdays at 6. And
Never heard of that.
You should listen to it sometime. That's pretty good.
I listen from 6 to 10 after that. Yeah.
And then I also do pregame again when the games are at home. So it's weird, get laid off by 610, and I'm still on 610 3 times a week. They don't care if I'm on there, and I think that's great. And so I don't have any pressure. I went to Canton for 4 days, didn't write while I was there. I just had fun. I went to the reception after the induction speeches. I went to the party that night. The McNairs threw both of them. It was a lot of fun. We had a 5:30 boarding call in the Cleveland airport on Sunday morning. So we left the party about 10, drove to Cleveland, got up at 3. And it was a long day, but it was fun. And then in 4 years, I tell people, J.J. Watt, anytime, Landry, you ask a guy when he's playing, who's being mentioned at the Hall of Fame, or if he's retired, about the Hall of Fame, they won't talk about it. J.J. didn't want to talk about it. All he wanted to talk about was Andre. And finally, I got him to say that he didn't want to sound presumptuous. And, of course, he didn't want to sound cocky, but he just said, if I'm blessed to join Dre with that brotherhood, what an incredible experience it would be. Typical JJ. He knows how to say all the right things.
Yeah. Did you see JJ's meal? What did you think of that meal that he got out there at Checkers? He's got the double cheeseburger, the cheese curds, the turtle sundae, that's my favorite dessert, hands down. Chocolate ice cream with the caramel pecan fudge, and then a large root beer. Are you a root beer guy?
I am, depending on what kind of root beer it is. When I was in San Antonio for 2 days, I played hooky from the Texans, which I can do now. And I went to the Texas coaching school, and I hosted a panel with Jackie Sherrill, Ken Houston, Wade Phillips, Michael Bishop, Keith Kilgore, and Dick Olin. Dick and Keith, great high school coaches here. And one of the things I noticed, remember, I went to San Antonio for training camp for years with the Oilers, and I loved it. Best place I've ever been. And they have a place on Commerce Street called, looks like Shiloh's, it's Shiloh's. And for 80 years, they've been making their own root beer. Okay. And I had to go buy Shiloh's first time since the Oilers moved to to Nashville that I've been able to get to Shiloh's. So yeah, I like root beer, especially homemade root beer.
Yeah, I knew you strike me as kind of a root beer guy. So I'm going to play a little game. It might be familiar to some people. I'm going to throw something at you, and you can hike the leg or not. It's up to you. But I'm just
Well,
going to
how I like to hike the leg on you.
Yeah. Pause. But John McClain got hammered in Canton during the Andre ceremony. John McClain probably drank a little to kind of push the limit a little bit.
No, I didn't have one drink except Diet Coke. I had to drink one, and there's no way I could drink and leave there and go to Cleveland Airport, which was an hour away.
Okay, well there you go. So that was a no-go for John McClain. Okay, well, hiked right there.
Hike it, Landry.
It's hiked. It's hiked. There you go. So, were you impressed with Andre's speech? I thought Devin Hester had the best one.
One of the things I liked about the rain delay, and I never left my hotel till we were just 10 minutes away till they said they were going to start it, knowing Andre was going to go last. But I liked on the NFL Network where they reran all the door knocks when they were surprised. And I'm the only writer from the committee that's ever gone behind the scenes to do that. And I did it last year with Chuck Alley and this year with Andre, in which Andre was completely surprised when Chris Carter knocked on the door and he cried and his mama screamed. And Devin Hester, I thought, had the best door knock because Edgerrin James shows up to his house in a car he's had redone. It looked like some kind of big monster 60s convertible, and everywhere, hood, sides, trunk, everything, he had the Hall of Fame emblem. It's his Hall of Fame car. And on the back seat, which was white, he's had Hall of Famers sign it because he has it taken to Canton every year. And it's all gold, and it's got this incredible horn. And when he drove up, he started honking. And Hester finally came to the door, and he was there to congratulate him and reveal that he is part of the class of 2024. And I thought it was very interesting. J.J. Watt wanted his picture made behind the scenes with Devin Hester, and he got one. And I said, what's the big deal? He went to Miami. He said, when I was a kid, I loved the Hurricanes, loved watching them. And one time I was in the airport with my parents. We were in Atlanta airport, and I see Devin Hester wearing his letter jacket from the U, and I went up and asked him for a picture. He gave me one. Now I've got a Hall of Fame picture with him, and I told my mama, please find that picture from when I was 15 or 16 so I can put them side by side.
Man, I said Culver's, not Checkers. Yeah, man. But you thought Hester had the best speech too?
Yeah, and I liked Andre's, and something I thought was very interesting.
But you don't expect Andre to give a good speech. Like, let's be serious.
Well, they all have help on the speeches, and they're reading from the teleprompter. It's not like you used to where they get up there and talk for 30 minutes. So I thought Andre's speech was good. Knowing Andre the way I do, I'm sure that's a very uncomfortable situation for him. The best event is the Gold Jacket dinner on Friday night when they put that jacket on for the first time and they feel it, and they got 7,000 fans screaming for them and music blaring, strobe lights flashing, and they go up a gauntlet of Hall of Famers.
What are they serving? What do they serve to eat?
Chicken or steak. I can't remember what we have. They walk up that gold jacket clad gauntlet to the stage, and they put their jacket on for the first time. That's an experience they'll remember for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Does it get old for you? Or are you kind of over it?
First time I went was 1985. The Oilers played the Giants in the Hall of Fame game, and it just so happened that class was Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, O.J. Simpson, Pete Rozelle. Those were the top four. And I've been so many times, and I love it when it's somebody from the Oilers and now the Texans, and I really love it if it's somebody I presented to our committee for enshrinement, whether it's somebody from the seniors committee like Chuck Alley and Robert Brazile and Curly Culp, or some from the modern era committee. I take special satisfaction in that. And I kind of live vicariously through them because I've been there so much and done it so much. I know what they're going through, and it's just an honor to be able to go back.
At that dinner with all the dancing and stuff, did O.J. Simpson cut a rug?
No, O.J. Simpson cut a rug. He cut a rug I didn't go to the dinner back then because I had to work the whole time for the Chronicle.
Okay. So
I didn't know back then you could go to those dinners being on the I wasn't on the committee then. That's why I didn't get invited to anything. And I wouldn't have done it anyway because I was writing too much. I was in awe that first time in 85.
do you look forward to the press box food at NRG at all? Do you?
The food at the press box at NRG has been so much better than it used to be.
Yeah, it has.
I look forward to the games. I never complain about food that anybody gives us, including some of those stadiums that through the years that have been terrible. They provide it and I eat it, and I appreciate them providing it. And but I got so many other things to worry about. I usually pay no attention to it. I want to know how close I am to the iced tea because I drink so much during games.
You do. You drink so much during sittings. So you can hike the leg on the people. They're good people. They like to argue. But John Hill asks John McClain, why are you so negative about the Texans?
Why am I so negative about the Texans? What are you talking about? I haven't written a negative story on the Texans since maybe last training camp.
How about a hike?
Yeah, hike it, Landry.
So there you go. Yeah, I remember. So I always find that kind of interesting because this was my most amusing time was in the 2021, 2022 seasons. Like you would go around, and obviously it's not always that, but you would get a person every once in a while that would be like, why are you so negative? Dude, if I was positive about the Texans in 2021 and 2022, I would have no credibility. Like, what do you mean? Why am I so negative like in this situation? But yeah, I don't know the last time that anything's been really negative about the Texans for sure.
No, and maybe he's talking about because I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. They have never been beyond the divisional round, and they play a schedule that's so much more difficult than what they played last year. 5 division winners, 11 games against teams with winning records, and a murderer's row of quarterbacks. I think it's going to be hard for them to be better than 10-7 because of the schedule.
Yeah, and I think the fact that 10-7 pisses some people off just shows how far they come. The other thing about it for me is that the Colts, and I brought this up, the Colts have, I think their first 10 or 11 are all noon Sundays, which I thought was an advantage that the Texans possessed last year for the first 16. And we had Kubiak on in here, and I mean, he said himself that, that if any coach could get all noon Sunday kicks and have the same routine every week, they would do a lot. They would first of all say yes, but they would do a lot for that. So I think that's a little bit of an obstacle too. And the Colts don't have that problem.
No. And I think also there's no pressure on the Jaguars. This time last year, you said to me on Sports Radio 610, would you take the Jaguars to the field? And I said, I'll take the Jaguars. And it cost me $100 that I had to pay you. And I think there's no pressure on the Jaguars now. And they don't play as tough a schedule. So I think they're going to be better. I don't think the Colts are going to be as good as some people think because I think Anthony Richardson's going to be very inconsistent in his first full season as a starter because he started so little at the University of Florida. I think the Titans will be better, but there's so many teams that got a chance to go from worst to first. And of course, the Bengals ought to be the number one team to do it. And there's a lot of teams that had losing records last year that have a chance to be really, really good. And I'm not saying it's going to be the Titans, but I think the division is going to be tighter. Remember last year, Landry, they played the worst division in football, the NFC South. And then their crossover game was the Cardinals here. This year, the crossover game, Cowboys at AT&T Stadium.
All right. So I want to ask you this because I tried to ask Berman and he wouldn't do it. I know you're a little bit more of a
Berman doesn't have an opinion. He put a thumbs down on the Astros blowing a game, and I said, my God, you've criticized the Astros.
I want you to list your top 3 favorite Texans coaches to cover. And this this can be any, there can be any reason, but who are your top 3 favorite Texans coaches, because you've covered them all, to cover?
Well, first of all, of course, be Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, okay. Bull crap on that.
Gary Kubiak is my
bullshit on that.
If you ask me my top coaches to cover in my 48 years of covering the NFL here, I would say Gary Kubiak's number one. And people say, oh, my God, how couldn't you pick Bum Phillips? Well, he'd be in the top 3.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I like Gary, and by the way, next Wednesday, he's being honored Touchdowner of the Year at the Touchdown Club's annual preseason high school event.
What is the Touchdowner of the Year?
It means he'll be up there with Bear Bryant and Darrell Royal and Bill Yeoman and Archie Manning and a lot of the greatest players and coaches, Terry Bradshaw. And I'll be the MC, and I can't wait to do it because
they should put Archie Manning's sperm in there.
And one reason, I won't comment on that. You can worry about Archie's sperm. One of the reasons that I'm so fired up about it is I know what it means to Gary. They let me tell him. And if you're a Houstonian and you're a sports fan, you know you have familiarity with the Touchdowner of the Year. You can go on the website and see all the people that have gotten it. They've always come. And so I'm really fired up to introduce him. But Gary is my all-time favorite because he's such a good guy. He never lied to me, never, except when Andre Johnson was hurt. But they all lie when it has to do with injuries. And I really enjoyed covering him. And because I known D'Amico since the day after he was drafted, D'Amico would be right up there as number 2. And I really liked Dom Capers as well. I thought Dom was a first-class guy. So I guess those would be my top 3, Gary, D'Amico, and Dom.
Okay. Well, who was your least favorite? Bill O'Brien?
Yeah, because I respected Bill because he would talk to me as a coach and GM off the record. Casario's only talked to me twice off the record. He told me the first time I'm not having off the record with anybody in the media. And I said, well, okay. I said, but what's the guy's name? I've lost my mind. The guy from Sports Illustrated from Ohio State. Their guy took Peter's place on there. Anyway.
Albert Breer.
Yeah, Albert. I said, Albert Breer keeps writing Texan stuff and saying you're texting him. He said, well, I'll take care of that. And Albert's never written it anymore. And I haven't seen him have any inside information, but he said he just didn't believe in having off-the-record relationship with the media. And I said, well, I've been able to talk to every general manager going back to Bum Phillips. And he said, and I respect that, but I just don't do it. And that's the Patriot way. That even Bill Belichick talked to certain media people off the record. But I think Nick's done a great job. And my point is, I used to be able to talk to O'Brien, and when he would cuss me out a lot, most of the time he would apologize later. Sometimes he didn't.
Sometimes like 2 hours after he'll call you.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, sometimes I'd be up in the press box and he would have read my notes online or my report card and called me up and chewed me out. But one time, Bill, because he hated it when you questioned his clock management and his game management, play calling, but especially the management. Coaches don't mind being called bad. What they hate is when you insinuate they don't know football. And Bill used to get livid. And so after a New England game up there, close loss, he needed to call a timeout. And the rules were different back then for coach challenges. He needed to call it so the replay official would have time to look at it in the last 2 minutes. And he didn't do the timeout. And Brady threw the winning touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks. And clearly a violation by their offense. And I asked him about it right after the game, and he knew it was coming. PR guys tell him what they're going to get, but he got mad, stormed off, and didn't talk to me during the season for like 2 months.
Yeah, he's mad. He gets pretty angry. I asked him about red zone or something. He said, I don't know. And I was like, you don't know? And then Amy wouldn't let me ask Nuke a question because she was so pissed at me. Like, yelled at me. I was like, I mean, I gave numbers. I gave stats. I even dug up the stats. I was like, okay, I don't want to just say something and get punked. So I was like, you ran the ball 7 times out of 10. It was after the game where the game before Deshaun had to take a damn bus to Jacksonville. He got his ass whooped on the sidelines. I want to say it was either Dallas or I think it was Buffalo maybe, but he just got his ass whooped. And I was just like, hey, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I don't know. And then Nuke Hopkins is up there, and I'm like this, and Amy's like, no, you can't get in there. What do you think?
By the way, I've been meaning to ask you since you guys exchange text messages every day. How is Easterbee doing?
He's not. I don't know. I've never had his phone number. I've talked to him on messages a couple of times, and then that dinner, I think I got him canned. I really.
Yeah, you let him have it in that dinner. I wasn't invited.
You were
Wouldn't have
there.
gone anyway.
But
He insisted on you be there, so you were his biggest critic because he wanted you to see what kind of good guy he was.
Yeah, I wasn't having that. That was a 40-minute roast for him. That was embarrassing. I was very happy because it was like I told my old boss, and y'all know the Easterbee story if you've been in here enough, but like there's like 15 people and he's just trying to BS. Finally, it just becomes like basically a roast of him and like putting him on the hot seat and stuff. But my old boss, I was like, dude, I'm not going there if you just want me to not say anything. They're like, no, like they were like, you got to be like you are on the radio. I was like, awesome, I'll be there then. And then kind of roasted him. I kind of take credit.
Let's point out exactly what you did. Easterby told people that people never talked about him on the record. Yeah. And those 2 Sports Illustrated articles on him, all the quotes were anonymous. Nobody put their name on anything. And you pointed out what?
I said, well, Andre Johnson went on the record, and Andre Johnson doesn't even talk crap. And he said that he tried to teach Andre how to be a GM or something. And I was like, what? I was like, you're telling me that Andre couldn't find someone like to teach him how to be a GM? And he was like, well, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, you said no one on record. Andre counts as like 100. I was sitting there. He's like sitting across. I'm like, Andre counts as 100. He never says anything. I was like, he said it and he didn't really have anything. And then the poor equipment manager that got fired, he had like Easterby had like he set it up where he was talking about how 4 guys had the wrong game pants. And that was like the biggest thing in the Green Bay game. And I was like, pants? I was like, DeAndre Hopkins could play in like shorts. I don't like what you're talking about, pants? I was like, is that what it all matters means? Is that pants? They have to have the same pants? And I said pants probably like 8 times throughout the thing. I just like, he'd be having I'd be like, pants. And when I left, I said, hey, appreciate the dinner. I was like, pants though? He goes, get out of here, man. Like, kind of trying to just laugh. But yeah, he was on one. He was that was an interesting thing there. That was an interesting dynamic. What do you think of Madden ratings?
Never paid any attention to anything involving Madden. Don't give a damn about Madden ratings.
Oh, wow. But were you more of a Tecmo Bowl rating guy? Like back in the day, did they?
I don't pay any attention to anything like that.
Did players say?
I've never played a video game. I've never done anything like that.
You never went to an arcade and put some damn quarters in the machine and played like some Pac-Man or something?
No.
Ever?
I played pinball. I was a big pool player.
That's a video game.
Shooting pool was the only time I ever played games. I never played cards and Monopoly, but once video games came out, I just never did it. I'm usually terrible at them, and I don't want to be exposed any worse than I already was.
So would you go try to pick up chicks when you played pool? Was that like a thing, or was it just were you just?
No, they came tried to pick me up.
I back in your day, I've heard some stories.
They weren't from me.
Did you play?
No, I was a serious pool player. I wanted to win money.
Oh, so you were that good?
I was good. I used to get beat, but I made a lot of money shooting pool. And every year the Chronicle used to have a Christmas party at Slick Willie's down by the Chronicle, and you'd see people. I'd see people for the first time. I knew their voices, but I never went to the Chronicle. And so we'd play pool and put a little money down there, and I usually cleaned up and won like $5.
Oh, okay. But back in your day, that might get you a house. I'm just kidding. So this person wants to know, and we brought this up, and you got to give us credit because Cal and Hannah listen. We made a big deal about this. What was it like when Easterby took away your first question?
The PR staff then. And the only reason they called on me is because I was the oldest and I'd been around the longest on the Zooms.
Yeah.
I never asked them to, and I didn't tell them not to. I just thought they also know I always had questions, and I wasn't afraid to ask the tough ones. So they did it out of respect, and then all of a sudden they called me, and I think it was in the off season, and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, we got to apologize, but Jack told us to quit having you ask the first question, have somebody else. And I said, well, then I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Why don't you have Berman? And they said, well, if he's there, sometimes he's at the Astros and the Rockets. So you and John started making a big deal out of it on In the Loop, and I never joined in. I didn't participate. I didn't tip you off.
No, we didn't. No, because we noticed. It was like, what is
Cal and Hannah McNair listen to y'all every day. And Cal asked one of the PR people, said, what's this about McClain? Isn't supposed to be asking the first question again. Is that true? And they said, yes, it is. And he said, well, where'd that come from? Well, Jack told us to do it. Well, don't do it anymore. So they called me and told me, we're going to call on you first again. Cal said we should. And I said, okay. And he did. And then Jack said, what are y'all doing? I told you don't do it anymore. Well, Cal said to. Oh,
yeah. What a
so
weird
I asked did the first ones again.
What a weird thing to care about.
There was so many weird things. You're talking about the pants with Easterbee. Remember that first day of training camp in which they had the roster with no numbers on it?
Dude, we were making fun of that the other day because just because it was hard for the coach. Because David Culley he didn't even know who the guys were with the numbers. So apparently, like David Culley, who didn't know what the hell he was doing, his head was spinning.
I went over to Cal and I handed him a roster and I said, hey, check this out, will you? And he looked at it. He said, what am I looking for? I said, what number's so-and-so? And he looks down. He goes, these don't have any numbers on it. I said, no kidding. He said, well, why is that? I said, Easterbee. He tried it with the Patriots one time. And then the Pro Football Writers of America got involved. And the league made him change it the next day. And he said, well, this will be changed the next day. I did a video with Brett Coomer, the Chronicle's photographer extraordinaire, afterward. And I had the roster, and I ripped it up, said, this is what I think about it, and threw it up in the air. And then when Brett cut it, I'm looking at it. I said, I guess I got to pick this up. It's blowing all over the place. And I ran around on Kirby Avenue dodging cars, picking up that roster. And I wrote a story about that got so many clicks. And I'm thinking, my God, it's such a little insubstantial, whatever the word is, story, but people looked at it
right there.
Crazy. So many things like that. Easterbee, I've never seen, Landry, any person that had to have credit for so many things that other people would do, and we knew they did it. He'd come up to the media a few minutes or hour later and say, hey, how do y'all like this? I got you. We're like, you didn't do it.
Yeah. I saw some messages from him where I saw some messages from Easterbee where after Hines Ward got like some sort of like UFL job, he sent some text messages to guys, and it was like, this is the beauty of interviewing guys and giving them an opportunity. So he like was taking credit for like Hines Ward getting like some arena or whatever the hell it was coaching gig. And I was just like, man, this guy is such a bit.
I loved it when Lovie Smith kicked him off the sideline, made him go up in the press box, didn't want him to be the high five coach anymore.
Yeah. Someone asked, what did I order that day? I think I got steak, and I ended up, I was drinking red wine. I probably got like 5 red wines or something like that, maybe 6. It started flowing. It became a fun night. This was me. I don't know if you remember this. After you ripped the roster, I pissed you off because you and Brett were trying to film a little something. And this was me from my broadcast spot. Look at this dirty look that both of y'all give me here. You can hear me kind of yelling after you ripped the roster. This was the day after. We got John McClain. Rip the roster. John, rip the roster. He's a professional. Rip it. Roster. We got John McClain.
Well, I never even looked at you. That was Brett.
Yeah, that
was DP Sidhu who had the walked in front of your cell phone.
Yeah, there's some perverts here that probably made some note of that. So nobody knew. I didn't know you were good at pool. Did you bowl ever?
Yeah, I used to bowl a lot in Waco. Loved doing it. Bowled when I first came down here.
Did you smoke cigarettes? Did you smoke? You used to smoke a lot of heaters, didn't you?
I smoked from the time I was 14 until the day Carol and I got married in 88. I promised her I'd quit smoking. And then I said, can I wait till after the draft? And she said, okay, day after the draft in 88, I started eating M&Ms, and I was in great shape when I smoked. I weighed 180, ran 3 miles 5 days a week, played tennis, volleyball, softball, lifted weights, did all kinds of things, and I quit smoking and gained 100 pounds.
So, but did you were you smoking heaters like in the car and stuff? Were you all allowed to
Sure.
smoke in like the press box back in those days?
No, I don't ever remember being able to do that. They used to let you drink in the press box in college. When I went to Baylor, you could smoke in class. I don't know how we all them died of cancer because everybody smoked in class, including the professor, David McCam.
Oh my God, man. It's just crazy how y'all used to on the what's the Johnny Carson show? They're all just sitting there and just
drinking, drunk, and
all over the place
and smoking. And some of the funniest things on Johnny Carson, like Dean Martin would flick his ashes in George Gobel's mixed drink while Gobel was talking to Johnny Carson, and he watched George take a sip of his drink and make a face, but he kept drinking. It even though it had ashes in it. What was
the wildest spot? Where was the wildest spot during the Oiler days? Where was the hangout? If the guys wanted to go out, was there a specific spot where they would go? Because back then those guys used to go hard.
Those guys partied like crazy.
They could go hard, and they didn't have to worry about bullshit someone taking a picture of them or anything like that.
No, if they tried, they beat the hell out of them. During the Love You Blue era, and I'm sure before I got here, everything they did was inside the loop. And the offensive linemen on Thursday nights had a drinking session. It was a bonding session in which the linemen would go after practice to an ice house over near the old facility on Holly Hall. And I'm told sometime they let the tight ends come, and they wouldn't let any media in there, but then they talked to days about getting in fights. One time there was an offensive line meeting, and Mike Munchak and Bruce Matthews kind of oversaw it when Bob Young, the late Bob Young, the line coach, would go play golf. And one time, 2 offensive linemen, Shamil Mashtub and Stan Thomas from the Longhorns, got in a fight, and El Mashtub just beat the hell out of him.
Damn.
And Stan Thomas came out with blood all over him. They used to get in fist fights. One time, Lamar Lathan, first-round pick in 90 from U of H, got into a fight in training camp with Kevin Donnelly, a guard, and they were fighting on the field. And back then, the coaches let them fight. They liked it. We could write it, shoot pictures of it, anything you wanted. So afterward, I'm told that in the weight room, it started again, and they were throwing barbells at each other. You don't see that very much. When Buddy Ryan came in here, Landry, in his first offseason in 93, he wanted the players to get in fights. And in the offseason program, they'd have shorts, T-shirts, and they would get in fights in that. And it'd be amazing. We'd be out there in the all-season program watching them go at it and then go inside to get their nose fixed.
Do you think that if the Texans win the Super Bowl, do you think you'll be kind of emotional about it? And
sure.
Have you at least, because I was talking to Berman and I thought it was just interesting. Just you don't hear a lot as much from him. I mean, I talked to him behind the scenes, but he's kind of saying that maybe he went too hard when he was working, and we all knew that. He was a damn demon. But do you at least now are you able to kind of balance enjoyment with still being in the mix, but not as much in the mix?
I always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed the game. I've been an Astros fan since the first pitch in '62, and I don't try to hide it. I rip the hell out of them when they deserve it, and I praise them when they don't. Sometimes I'll blast them, like when they blew that first Rangers game, and then when they won the second one, I'm like, oop, I better tweet this since I tore them up last night. And
I like seeing you be a fan.
I don't think
there's any y'all be fans. We like seeing that.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being critical of your favorite team. I hear people go, "Oh, you're terrible. You're not a real fan." I'm like, give me a bleeping break. I've been following this team literally since the first game. One time, Drayton McClain, who liked to talk to me about Baylor, he said, "How is it a football guy knows so much about my baseball team?"
Why would he not?
And I said, well, because I don't think your team was an expansion team that was created when you bought it. I said, I go back to the first game, and I said, I bet you don't know who the first game they won, who was the winning pitcher, and who hit 2 home runs. And he leans back and he goes, I can't, but I bet you can tell me. And I did, to beat the Cubs. Bobby Shantz got the win. Remind me, he hit 2 home runs. And I said, Drayton, you grew up in Cameron. I grew up in Waco. You should have been listening to those games at night like I did. He said, well, you were listening to the Astros. I was helping my dad deliver groceries on my way to being a billionaire.
Well, there you go.
And I'm like, oh, boy, if I'd known that, I'd moved Cameron and changed the spelling of my name.
Nah, you couldn't live without football, John. Let's be honest. You could.
People ask me all the time, do I want them to win? Of course I want them to win. It's you want if somebody says they don't care who wins the team they're covering, they're lying. Yeah, you're supposed to say that, but I've always wanted the teams to win. You can't help it. You can still blast the hell out of them when they lose. You can blast them anytime you want, but you want to be fair. And if they were winning the Super Bowl, I'd be ecstatic for them, the fans of Houston, the state of Texas, D'Amico and Stroud and all those guys, especially D'Amico, since I've known him so long. But yeah, I want him to win, and I'm not afraid to say it.
There you go. I like that. So you and I have had some epic on-air arguments. I think our biggest argument is anytime you defend the stanky one, Amy Adams Strunk, whatever. The Oilers uniform drama. Pedro asks, what did you think about the UH blue jersey drama? Or what do you think about
I thought the jersey was great. I love that color. I'm like Warren Moon and Dan Pastorini and Earl Campbell. They all love seeing Columbia blue. And if they can't see it here with the Texans, and they want to see it with the Titans because it belongs to the Titans. And in the best possible world, the Titans wear it, and the Texans beat them with a field goal with no time left. So anytime I see Columbia blue, no matter if it's in Nashville or if it's H-Town blue here on the new uniforms, I like it.
How do you want to see it on the Oilers? How do you want to see it on the Titans, though, man?
No, I don't care. I just want to see it. I think it's a great color.
Well, then go Google.
You wouldn't understand because you didn't cover the Oilers through all those years.
No, I know, but
it doesn't mean anything to you like it does a lot of other people.
Earl's a god. Earl's a god in my household. Like he's a god. So like I get it. Like it's cool seeing Earl and all that. I was very, very distraught when they lost to Buffalo. I actually wanted to see an all-Texas Super Bowl, but I don't want to see the damn Titans rocking it, though. Do you think the Cougs
they can wear anything they want?
You think the Cougs going to look good? See, you're going to piss some people off now, John.
Wow, it really bothers me. I've told you, and you know this. I don't look at what people say on Twitter. The first time I signed up for it, Jordan Godwin, who was working with me from UT as an intern, he signed me up. And we were at the combine. And I said, well, what do I do now? He said, well, there's a thing you can go on and you can see what they're saying about you. Ooh. And I said, well, why would I? Ooh. I said, why would I? Oh, man. I said, what? He said, I'm reading some of the things they're saying about you. And I said, like what? He goes, well, let me get a positive one. After about a minute, I said, just read it. He said, okay, let me find one that's not so bad. You're old, you're fat, and you should retire.
And nice one. Yeah.
And I said, yes, I'm old and I'm fat, but I'm not retiring. And I haven't.
Yeah, you have not. You're still doing your thing. My mom made a really big mistake one time. And I don't think she hasn't done it since, but I mean, this was, I think it was like 06, 07, 07, 08. I wrote an article about Mike Leach, and Tim Griffin, I think was his name. He worked
San Antonio.
Yeah, and he did ESPN lunch links, so that they linked the story. The title of the column, and I was probably wrong, but I said Leach needs Tech more than Tech needs Leach, and I like basically just like fired up Mike Leach. It was like I did it like twice, just fired his ass up, and it was at the Toreador. I worked. Adam Coleman and was my editor who does high school sports now. I think for the Chronicle. But he was my editor, and they were just getting cooked. Like the comments, like there were probably like hundreds of comments. I think it was like the biggest. My mom went and read the comments, and I was like, dude, what just don't do that.
Is that the last time she did it?
Oh yeah. It's the last time she even like thought about going into that world. It's dangerous. You didn't really have to deal with that back in the day. Like how often, when does a letter get to you back in the day when people were sending letters and stuff? Like before the email, like let's say that you write a column that pisses someone off with the Oilers. Like by the time you get it, is it like, man, I don't even remember that. That was like 2 weeks ago.
It
Like
might
what
be
am
2 weeks, might have been a month. Most of the time I had a friend from the Chronicle bring me my mail. I didn't have to go down there to write. Every once in a while I'd go down, go to lunch with one of the bosses and we'd talk. And there was this one guy, I can't remember his name. Every week he wrote me a letter, just chewing me up one side and down the other. And sometime I would look at him. Sometime I just throw him in the trash because I was too busy. And I know that was terrible. And we used to get it from the players. They used to have the Chronicle and the Post. And after we put the Post out of business, just the Chronicle at the facility where every player came in could pick up the paper and read exactly what you wrote about him. And I used to have a lot of players get mad, and I'd try to talk to them privately and listen to them. And usually if you did it and you didn't get him defensive, and you didn't try to embarrass them, they didn't hold it against you. I tweeted it about Jadeveon Clowney wouldn't do interviews one day. And he was hurt. And I said, well, he probably wouldn't do them because he's afraid he's going to suffer another knee injury. And I sent that out. And then I had people tell me, boy, the Texans players are hammering you. And I said, who? And one of them was Hopkins. And I really respect DeAndre. And I went down there and he said, man, you shouldn't have said that about him. And I knew I shouldn't as soon as I did it, because I don't like it when athletes don't talk to the media, because that's part of their responsibility. Standard player contract says they're supposed to cooperate with the media. And I like Clowney. And so I told Hopkins, you're right. And so I went the next day, I tweeted the apology to him. And then I got I think it was Kevin Cooper, the PR guy at that
Shout out
point.
to Coop. Good
and
dude.
I asked Coop if he could get him off to the side where I could talk to him, and he did. And I went up and apologized to Clowney. He said, well, what'd you write? And I said, well, I tweeted it. And this
You didn't
is
even
what
know?
Most of those guys don't pay attention to it unless somebody tells them. And he was very nice about it. We never had another problem after that. But boy, when it was written in the Chronicle and they'd hold it up and start chastising you over it, you learned how to deal with it after a while. And one of the things I always pointed out, okay, you're chewing me out, but how come when I wrote those great things, you never said anything about it? Is that fair?
Yeah.
What are they going to say? Blah, blah, blah. They sound like Porky Pig. Blah, 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 blah. And that usually got them. One time, Michael Barrow, linebacker 93 from Miami, who I really came to respect and like. Michael was complaining because of grades on my report card at linebackers. And he said, I can't believe you gave us a C. I said, Michael, you're not back at the University of Miami where you don't even have to show up and you get an A+. The Chronicle operates.
Right.
He thought it was funny.
That's a good ass line right there. So what is it like? Because I know you try to be humble, but I know you got to have like a healthy ego. What's it like when you like go to a gas station, like back in like the newspaper golden age, 80s, 90s into the late 90s, and you look to your right and you see those old school newspaper machines where you have to put 50 cents in, and someone like me probably takes like 5 papers instead of just the one, just because I can do it. What's it like when you look in there, you're like, yeah, I wrote a column right there. That's badass. That's got to be a cool feeling. You don't even think
it was
about
a cool feeling when I started covering the Oilers and the Love You Blue Oilers. I covered hockey with Gordie Howe, and that was an incredible experience. But then they moved me to the Oilers right when they were going great, and it was so much fun, took so much pride in it. But it wasn't, I still get stopped all the time, and I always talk to people. What I hate to get stopped, like over Monday, yeah. I went over to Avalon Diner, and I was wearing a really crummy T-shirt because I come out of there most of the time with half my food on my shirt.
I've noticed.
And these two guys.
You put the napkin on your shirt before we even eat, bro.
Yeah.
Before we
and
even
it doesn't help. It comes down.
On the
and
shirt.
I walk outside, and these two guys probably live in one of the memorial villages came out, and they were really nice. And I'm talking to them, and I'm thinking about, boy, I wish I wasn't wearing this bad shirt. But I tried to be as nice as I could be. And so I never get tired of it. Carol says, I'll talk to the popcorn popper at the theater. And I said, if the popcorn popper
I do too.
asks me a question about sports, I'm happy to
Hey,
talk to him. I try not to ever turn anybody down. And if I have to, because of time restrictions, then I explain to them. And I'm happy to try to help anybody that wants to be helped, because I get such a kick out of it. And probably 75% of the time that I'm recognized, it's, man, I love listening to you on the radio.
yeah,
Or, I'm sorry you retired. Well, I only retired from the Chronicle. Oh, really? I didn't know.
yeah.
And I get that a lot. And so it was more about the radio, because I started going on the radio with Jerry Trupiano in 76. And then I started doing regular weekly radio in 85. So this has been 40 years. And so radio, people wonder why I have so many Twitter followers compared to most other writers or veteran media people. And I say, it's not because of what I've written. It's because I do so many radio shows around the country.
You do too many, man. I feel like
No such thing as too many,
come
except
on, brother.
when you're telling Deshaun Watson stories in 2020 and you forget who you've told what, because there's so many. And is it 30 women, 23 women?
Yeah,
I got tired of that, I can tell you.
But you have so many freaking things. You know what kind of I hate, something that I've hated that's happened to you since I've been knowing you. You used to love going to the movies, man. I don't feel like you go to the movies as much. Like, you used to be like at least a once a week movie guy. Like, what happened?
We always go in the off season. It's a time thing. Let's see. We saw a movie last weekend, and I knew it was going to be bad because of the dialogue that they put in the previews. And you know, when the dialogue is terrible in the previews, it's going to be in worse than the movies. But I like Glenn Powell.
Okay.
Even though he's a Longhorn. So
Yeah.
I went to see Twisters. I love movies. I want to see the special effects. And Carol walked out and said, that's one of the three worst movies I've ever seen. I said, maybe the worst I've ever seen.
They fell in love, right? Spoiler alert.
And that wasn't the part. It was the dialogue. The script was terrible.
I was thinking my wife wanted to see that because she brought it up, and I was like, man, do we really have to? Because the original Twister was pretty good, if I recall.
The original Jean de Bont, it was his first movie. He'd been a director of photography. And I thought that was in 96, and the special effects were great. And they've got all these things they've learned since then, the green screens and all, and they're not any better than they used to be. I love disaster movies, and the kind I hate the most is when some dad's trying to get to a kid, like in San Andreas. Although if my kid was Alexander Daddario, I'd be doing everything to get to her too. And Tom Cruise and Jake Gyllenhaal, but Dennis Quaid, I want to see one where it's just people getting killed with great special effects. Don't care anything about all the bad dialogue.
See, you like the special effects. I'm not as into the special effects. Did you watch the newest Bad Boys?
No, I haven't watched any of those Bad Boys, because the original Bad Boys with Sean Penn was the all-time great, and they should have sued him for stealing it, about him and I forget the other actor in juvenile prison beating the hell out of each other all the time. That was the best Bad Boys. And one other thing, I used to have a really bad TV, so I couldn't wait to get small screen color, fit in an armoire. And I had to have an armoire because our late cats had to be on, they like to go up on top. So, man, couldn't do anything. Well, they died. And we finally got a huge TV, thanks to you and John Lopez, constantly harassing my wife. So she got me a big one. And now instead of going to the theater, listening to people talk and turn their phones on, and I'd rather sit right there with the sound turned up, watching them on my big flat screen TV, courtesy of Landry Locker and John Lopez.
Because you used to actually go to like some pizza place and have them put you in the back. And you would
yeah, that was Fuzzy's Pizza. They had a monster one, and I could go in their back room and watch whatever I wanted. Watched a lot of Baylor football and basketball games and a lot of movies back there.
Did you think that that was the you think that's the best pie in town?
There's a lot of good ones, but I've been going there since the late great Ken Hoffman recommended it when we moved to this side of town off I-10, 5 minutes from there, and we tried it, liked it. And a guy was real good friends with Fuzzy, who died 2 years ago, and it's my favorite. Not the others, but the one off on Antoine and I-10. That's the original.
Do you what is your go-to at what is your go-to at the Avalon Diner?
If it's breakfast, I like hash and eggs. If it's lunch, I eat nothing but vegetables, and of course they close at 3. And sometime I'll go in there like at 2:30, and they don't have a lot of stuff left, and I'll say, okay, just give me a salad with the buffalo chicken on it. But I like to eat over there. They're great vegetables, and then I love their breakfast.
So one of my favorite facts about you, and a lot of people may not know this, but John McClain's actually been in some movies. This was this right here is little Spring Breakers action. You got Selena Gomez and all these chicks in.
It's Ashley Benson on the left, Vanessa Hutchins second, Valerie, the director, Harmony Korine's wife, and then Selena Gomez on the right, who has a dog named Baylor.
And then you have John McClain right there as the
ball
judge.
Spot.
Yeah, and you right here. Look at this. Look at this intensity right here from the judge. Look at that acting. How many takes was this? How many takes did you need?
Our base was in St. Pete. We went down to Bradenton because we had a courtroom all day. That's one scene took 8 hours.
8 hours.
And because James Franco made his first appearance, and they had to shoot him from every angle with every kind of light. And the first time my take came, I started, the director, Harmony Korine, goes, all right, take one, scene whatever, take one, action, bam. And I start doing my lines. He goes, cut. He said, Judge, you can't sentence them without looking at them. And I said, I covered the mic and I said, but Harmony, I feel like such a dirty old man. And he said, hey, you're going to have to do it. So we did those things. We did those things all day. And then I rode back with them, the 4 girls in a van. We were chauffeured to our trailers, and they pick your trailer up and take it back to the base camp in St. Pete. So I'm riding along on a trailer till I get to the van, and it was a lot of fun. Paparazzi were chasing us, and the driver was trying to get away from them. And I said, can't we just shoot one picture for People magazine together?
Did you get to talk to James Franco?
Briefly. Not a lot. I thought he did a great job in there.
So you like that movie?
It was so weird. I liked it because
I think it's so bad it's good. And I'm a big Gucci guy. So like Gucci Mane.
Gucci Mane, he got killed. And I liked the way he got killed.
Yeah, he was in the bathtub.
I did not like the way that James Franco got killed so quick.
No, they should have kept him.
But it was fun. It was fun to do. And it got great ratings, especially from the New York Times, because it was so different.
Yeah, it was like really like hipstery. It was kind of like the nerdy stuff, but I enjoyed the hell out of that, man. I enjoyed like just because it was so bad. Like a movie's either got to be really, really bad or really, really good. Like the middle ground doesn't really do it for me as much. I do think you'd like the new Bad Boys though, for sure.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of either one of them. I used to like Will Smith 20 years ago.
You don't like that he slapped Chris Rock?
No, I don't care about that. He could have beat the hell out of him for all I care.
Oh, come on. You don't want Chris Rock.
The last movie I liked of Will Smith was I forgot the
Don't
name.
say Concussion. That movie.
No, all the bad.
Terrible. That's
were all the
movie of all time.
The government took him out, so that they were all in prison. He was, what was he? Sure Shot, and Margot Kidder. Margot Robbie, who's my favorite female actress. She was in it.
Is she pregnant, right?
Suicide Squad. I didn't do it.
Yeah, it wasn't you. Yeah, it wasn't
Don't
you.
accuse me.
But is Margot is pregnant, right?
I don't know. She hadn't texted me over that.
I think she's preggo, man.
Well, good for her.
Did you watch Barbie?
Yeah, I did because I felt like I had
woke?
to.
Did you think it was too woke? Were you one of these that said it was too?
I just didn't like it at all. Carol loved
You
it.
didn't?
I just didn't like
I
it.
didn't think
I
it was
like
that
Ryan
bad.
Gosling, and I liked her, and that was it. It's too much pink for me. I like pink, just not that much.
Did you see that Ryan Gosling stunt movie that just came
Yeah,
out? That's a good one.
yeah, I was disappointed in that too
What?
because of the dialogue.
The dialogue. What are you talking about with dialogue? Like, what does dialogue mean? You know, look, this
When
is
I expect it to be good, I get disappointed. If I expect it to be bad, like in Twisters, then it's a little more acceptable. But Carol loved that one too, and I'm like,
so you're
no.
expecting Ryan Gosling. Name a movie where Ryan Gosling's had good dialogue outside of The Notebook, though. He's kind of just he's kind of
What
like
was the one he did with Emma Stone in L.A. with
the musical type, whatever.
yeah,
The
what
hell
was that called? I can't
called?
remember.
Him.
They were
La La
announced.
Land. La La Land.
Yeah, that's it. La La Land.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought Fall Guy was good. Kenneth says it was horrible. I thought it was good. Maybe I think me and my wife have like bad movie taste. I think we just try to make the most of the experience. Not everyone's going like all the time, like you, apparently, or back in the day.
So you guys go to movies together?
Yeah, we haven't gone.
Popcorn together?
Yeah, oh yeah, we share popcorn, but she's usually
See
like
Diner?
Diner.
Diner. Mickey
No.
Rourke. You need to watch Diner. There's a great popcorn scene with Mickey Rourke. Y'all might want to try.
What does he do? Stick his wiener in there like a porno or something? Or you being
like
the pizza guy? Did someone order
while she's getting the popcorn, and because he bet his buddies that he could get her to touch it
so
in a certain time, and
so
he won the bet.
You spice it up. You have the pizza box in front of you.
So someone your lap, help yourself.
I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Oh my goodness. So, John, you got the you obviously got the Texans. We got that coming out. Are you going to the preseason game? Are you above that?
Yeah, I'll go to the preseason game. One of the things I learned, the main reason I retired from the Chronicle after the 22 draft, I got tired of traveling. I got tired of fighting airports, got tired of putting my fat butt in a coach seat. And I just got tired of traveling, fighting crowds at games. So I learned that I can sit in front of the TV in shorts and a T-shirt, come in 5 minutes before the game, watch it, record it, and go in and sit down and watch D'Amico's interview, Stroud's interview, get the opposing people, PR people to send me all the quotes, and I can write just as well there as I could when I was at the games. And a lot of times you get more information on TV than you do when you're up in the press box. But where here, I go to games 3 hours early because I like to get my seat and talk to everybody real early before they're usually the closer you get to the game, you couldn't drive a pin up their butt with a sledgehammer. But if you go really early, they're still kind of loose and you can talk to them. So, yeah, I like doing that, but I'm so glad I don't have to write on deadline anymore.
So are you aisle seat or window seat? Because you said your fat butt. Is that?
I always like the window seat because I never get tired of views. First time when I came to the Chronicle in 76, I was here for one hockey game. Then we went on a 2-week road trip across Canada and the U.S. And I'd only been on one plane going from Waco to Odessa, a puddle hopper. And I got windows because I like to see views. And I still get windows because I like to see views. When we go into New York or Boston or San Francisco, anywhere, I love to look out the windows. And plus, I can sit over there and put my head against the wall and snore, where if I'm in the aisle seat, I make too much noise.
Do you what do you fly? You don't fly Southwest, do you?
No, I only fly United.
Only United. Okay. So you're good. So you don't have like a hot take on Southwest now? Talking about a signing.
I don't fly on Southwest.
Gee, I almost feel
I like to have a reserve seat, and I like to upgrade whenever I can. Coming back from Canton, I said, y'all have first class seat available? They said, yes, we do. How much would it cost me? Well, to change your flight, it would be $497, and your first class upgrade would be only $1,295. And I said, let me think about that. No.
Okay. Well, you could have afforded it. We all know. Have you ever paid for a ticket to go to an NFL game?
Let's see. I've never been in the stands. at an NFL game ever.
Ever? Not,
And
damn.
I started working at the Waco Tribune Herald, and one of the reasons I started there when I was at Baylor's, I found out you could get in ball games free. Last time I paid for a college game would have been Baylor before I went to Baylor, because then I started working at the Tribune Herald and going to Cowboy games, going to Astros games, and I thought, man, oh man, don't have to pay to get in ball games. Wow.
Do you have anything named after you at Baylor? Like, is there like some sort of like
Football stadium?
Come on, dude. That's not the same spelling.
I told him, I said, you'd think a school with as good an academic reputation as Baylor could get a name right on their new stadium. No, I've been blessed to have a lot of awards, but no, my name's not on anything that I know of. Maybe
they don't have like a
police blotter now and then.
Okay. You get arrested at
back
Baylor?
In the day.
Did you get arrested?
In what decade?
I'm just asking. When did John McClain get arrested? You got arrested
60s?
in college?
No, not in college. I'd straightened up back then.
Damn, how old were you in the 60s?
Well, I was a junior in high school in 68, which is the most tumultuous. No, I was a sophomore.
Damn.
The most tumultuous, 68, 69, the most tumultuous year in our city's history. People think we've got turmoil now. Go back and check out 1968. And so there were a lot of things to do, a lot of fun to be had, and I had fun.
So what did you do?
Just about everything you can do.
What did you do to get in cuffs?
First time was I used to go to the county line at a fake ID, and it said I was 21 and drinking age wasn't 18 then, and I'd buy cheap liquor and I would hide it at a vacant house down the street, and then sell it to my friends on Fridays.
Damn.
And one time I'm in class in Richfield High School, and the police come, take me away in handcuffs, but that was a badge of honor back then. John McClain got picked up by the man. And boy, my dad was mad.
What was bail like? $3?
I don't know.
Did you have to? What did your dad? Did he like whoop your ass or?
No, he told me. He said, you know, those so and so widows so and so's got nothing better than look out her kitchen window all the time, and that house is right there, and anything that goes on over there, she's going to see. And then he pointed out, don't do it anymore.
Oh, there you go. So here's a leg hiking for you. I have a leg hiking. Speaking of Waco, John McClain is bigger in Waco than David Koresh.
That's a hike it, Landry. They make documentaries about David Koresh. It's amazing how many they've made.
Do you have a soft spot in your heart for RG3 and everything he did for Baylor?
I do. I know Robert. I like him. I think he's done a good job on TV, and I haven't talked to him or texted with him in a while, but I like the fact that he's made a good career out of a good career for himself. And I remember when he got hurt. You know, he's better than Landry Locker as a rookie, and then he got hurt. Mike Shanahan played him too quick, and his career, it just ended before it got started. And Andrew, of course, was great till he quit. And but yeah, I do. In fact, he won the Heisman, and the fact that he's got a statue outside Baylor Stadium, I do have a soft spot for RG3.
What about Jadeveon Clowney? He made you eat a newspaper, didn't he? Not
exactly. I said on the NFL Network that if the Texans don't draft a quarterback, I'll eat a newspaper. And I went to New York for that draft in which they drafted Clowney. And when I came home, I went to the press box where the media was, and Brett Coomer, our photographer, went with me, and I got a plate of barbecue and potato salad, and I took a page out of the sports page, and I ripped it up and wadded it up in the different kinds of food. And Dr. James Muntz, who's been my doctor for about 35 years, and he's a Texans doctor, he told me, man, don't do that again. He said, you could get that caught in your intestine and die. Really? And I said, I'm not going to be dumb enough to say something like that again. So you don't have to worry about it.
Do you, are you more potato salad or macaroni salad?
I like both of them. Just depends on where it is.
Do you like to mix? Do you mix your barbecue plates? Because I'll mix the beans and everything. Like all
The
together.
only thing I mix is barbecue. I like the beans and the barbecue and the macaroni and cheese, everything mixed together.
Do you think Truth is the best? I don't know that anything is up there. Are you like?
I like the pit room too.
Pit room?
They just opened one down the street from us in Memorial City, and I've been able to avoid it so far because I'm afraid if I go once, I'll get addicted.
Man, Truth is something serious.
Truth is such a pain to get into.
Oh, I mean, I went there the other day, like 5 minutes after it opened, and I was in line for an hour. Fortunately, there was like some people from Ireland that were out of town, so I was kind of amused by them, and they were just kind of being crazy. So
where'd you park? Did you get a parking place easily?
Yeah, but I had to park in those rocks, and it had just rained. Like it was kind of it was kind of
well, it's worth it.
Yeah, it was worth it, and it was we got kind of like a mix of everything. They're pretty friendly there too. Some places that are that nice, like you go in and they don't have to be nice to you. Say, hurry up, pick the meat. The dude was pretty cool. I like that.
My favorite restaurant, one of them, my favorite Chinese that you like too, the Ambassador on Richmond, owned by Wendy since 1973.
So good.
And if a restaurant's been in the same place in a strip center since 73, it's got to be good. And I never get tired of going over there. I'm glad I don't live in the neighborhood.
It is like the Ambassador. We lived in the neighborhood and we would go all the time. Even if you're I could go there and eat the soup. It's just like so clean for some reason. And I think you can appreciate this. Their iced tea for some reason just really hits, man.
It's just good. And boy, they got good. When I go to a restaurant, I want them filling up my tea glass without me having to ask, and they fill it up like crazy.
Yeah, they take care of you. It's a good spot, really good service. So where do you recommend Mexican? If people ask you where to eat Mexican, is there like a spot that you recommend?
One of my favorite places is La Fiesta between Gaylord and I-10. It's real.
La Fiesta. I never
La Fiesta. It's been around for like 50 years. Ooh. And it is a local place. It's behind Buffalo Wild Wings on the feeder road on the south side. And I like Tony's in the Heights is another really good one. One I've been going to since
my wife loves Tony's.
Well, she's got good taste.
They got strong
Mexican food. And the other one,
food. I caught that, buddy.
It's called Lopez. I first went there in '84. It's in A-Leaf.
I don't like Lopez, man.
You don't really? I haven't been there a while, but I ate there for like 30 or 35 years because I lived out there.
I like Teotihuacan for sure. I like Teotihuacan. And then they just brought me Casino from Dallas here. That is good.
Where is that?
Westheimer. I think it's on Westheimer. It's in like a little center. It is like one of the nicer places, and it's pretty affordable. And man, if you drink, Mambo Taxi time. HD AV Traveler, Hardo. The General is a legend in my book.
Thank you.
There you go. So
thank you very much.
Someone says, is this a football or a food show? This is a hanging out with John McClain show. I mean, what are you doing? You wouldn't like us to say, hey, here's who's going to win the A. I do that every day. I get to talk to John as much anymore, man. I'm catching up with my boy here. But yeah, there's a lot of good grub. What about Italian? I'm not really very good at look, I can go to Olive Garden, man. I can just go to Olive Garden and get me some salad and breadsticks. Where do I need to go Italian? I need some help.
One of my favorite places is shutting down next week. Damien's on downtown on Smith Street. And I like the original Carrabba's on Kirby and the one close to me on Woodway and Voss. And I like that too. And they're bunched through the decades and they closed down. Ciro's, which is in Memorial City, used to be right around the corner from where we lived till they expanded I-10. But Ciro's moved into a bigger building. It's another good local place. That's the thing, Landry. We have so many great restaurants here. You could eat out every day for years and never go to the same place anymore. One of my favorites, and this has been open for decades, the Barbecue Inn on Cross Timbers.
Never been.
The Barbecue Inn, not only it's been open for They open at 10:30 in the morning. They're closed on Sunday and Monday. They have the best chicken fried steak in town, and they have great vegetables, and it's relatively cheap, and it is tremendous. And I tell people to go, but don't go right at noon because it's always packed. But I love the barbecue in too.
The best in town. Grace's is a very popular spot.
I love Gracie's. The roast beef there is the best I've ever had.
Yeah, and I think that's Andre's spot too. Grace's. I've seen him. I think I've seen him and Nuke there. I used to live like in that apartment right there, so I just walk over there. Act a fool at Grace's for sure. So, what is your prediction for the Texans? You got them at 10 wins, right?
I didn't want to pick them 10-7 again, so I picked them 11-6. But man, they're going to have to be a lot better on defense than they were last year, and I expect them to be. They signed 15 unrestricted free agents, drafted 5, re-signed 5 of theirs because they know they need to be better on that side of the ball. Tackles the big position to see who can step up, especially with Nico Autry being dumb enough to get caught for PED, substance abuse. But at least he'll be rested when he comes back. But I can't wait to see what happens with the tackles. And if he stays healthy, Kamari Lassiter, he has been great. He took that job in off season. You know, we were talking about maybe he'll play inside. Well, he's not playing inside. He's playing outside opposite Derek Stingley Jr. And if Derek Stingley Jr. can stay healthy, he can be first team All-Pro. And if Kamari Lassiter stays healthy, they can have NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year 2 years in a row.
Yeah, the Lassiter, he's actually 40-1. I saw the odds, and I think I'm going to sprinkle a little something on that because the thing is, I don't think there's like any corner that's going to threaten him. There's no elite edge guy. I mean, I think there was a record for offensive guys, and a lot of times you get overlooked. They got 6 primetime games, so I think that kind of helps vote sometimes if they're just gushing over you. So if you tell me I'm getting 40-1 and he's playing opposite of Stingley, and he's going to be on prime time 6 times, and you tell me that I put $10 on it and I'll win 400, I'll do it. I mean, it seems like
do it.
A lot. Yeah. And I don't know that people have really caught on, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I mean, people don't know that Kamari Lassiter is the starting corner for the Texans yet. No. I mean, they're kind of trying to figure
when he ran a 4.65 the combine, everybody got down on him. If you watch the Giants Hard Knocks, they showed in the last episode they had him as Blue, one of the top players, and they wanted him when he was available in the second round, and the Texans took him. But seeing those color codes and him in that color that they had the top players, that tells you what teams thought about him.
Yeah, and Fisher's the immediate, left tackle. I mean, he's the swing tackle.
He could be the right tackle.
Yeah, no doubt.
Titus keeps getting hurt. Blake Fisher's going to be a starting right tackle.
2 times to the tent, and then there was like debate over whether he carted off or not. I know Bieneme and Alexander said he left practice in a cart. He did, but it wasn't like they carted him off right after. I think it was
they gave him a ride in a cart.
Yeah, and I mean CJ gets rides in a cart. Like there's, he went to the tent.
Oh my God, he's carted off. CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he get in the tent, you walk out, and then you get in the cart. So it was a little bit, kind of semantic, but it happens, man. John, I appreciate you, man. I love talking to you. Miss talking to you weekly. I know that you're still doing some columns. I'm glad that the workload is lower, and I'm glad that you seem to be enjoying the great things. Got to talk to Berman today. That one's going to drop on Sunday, and it's great talking to you. And the other thing about it is this guy right here. Let me point the right way. This guy right here, he's a freaking night owl. Like, this is not like most people that are John's age are like, I got to do it before 8 o'clock because I'm going to bed. This guy stays up late.
Well, that's because I take naps. Another thing I haven't told you is I'm working on some documentaries.
Okay.
And I love movies, as you know. And if people ask me, if you hadn't been a sports writer, what do you think it would have been? Well, I wouldn't have known at the time. But now I look back, I would like to have tried to have been a movie producer because they do everything to put movies together. And I've always loved documentaries. I worked on the Phillips, bomb, Wade and Wes documentary that's coming out probably around the Super Bowl time. And right now we're doing early work on PVIL, Preview Interscholastic League, Texas High School Football
Okay.
for Integration, in which Mean Joe Green and Kenny Houston and Emmett Thomas and Jerry Levias played football, and the stories that they tell. And I'll leave you with this one. I hosted Mean Joe Green for an hour at luncheon to raise money at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And he said when he was in high school at Temple Dunbar, he never had water and he never had a roof over his head, because when they would play, the white stadiums wouldn't let them come into the locker room. So even if it's raining, they're out there in the end zone with a coach talking to them about their game plan, trying to get them excited at halftime or consoling them after games. And when he went to North Texas, he looked up like, wow, I've never had a roof over my head. Somebody walked up and practiced and handed him a cup. He said, what's this? Well, water. Well, what's water doing here? What do you mean? Well, you have water while you're practicing. Well, I never had water. And then they said, well, you get it during games too. He goes, oh my God. And then he said that he got water. He couldn't believe it. One time, one of the assistants told him to get up on the table, and he grabbed his ankle. And Joe jerked it away and said, what are you doing? I'm going to tape your ankles. Why? Well, that's what you do. Well, I've never had my ankles taped. And then they taped him, and he started playing with them. He goes, wow, this is even better.
Yeah, he's even.
Of course, that helped him become one of the greatest defensive linemen in history. And Kenny Houston, who played in Lufkin, said when they go to little towns on their rickety old buses, the white-owned gas stations or restaurants wouldn't let them in, and they'd have to find a dirt road to go down and go in the woods to the bathroom on their way to the game.
God, that's terrible. Did you how much do you think the commercial helped Joe Green?
Oh, it helped him a lot. We ran it. And
that wasn't just like a commercial. That was like an image type of boost.
Changed everything about Mean Joe Green. I told the audience, I said, everybody thinks Joe's his middle name. His first name's Mean. Joe's not even his name. His name is Charles, and his name is Joe because an aunt, when he was 5 years old, told the mother, he looks like Joe Louis. Joe Louis was on his way to 10 consecutive heavyweight titles, so they started calling him Joe when he was 5, and it just stuck. And everybody knows him as Joe. And when we showed that commercial, I said, okay, you had to drink that whole Coke in one gulp. How long did it take y'all to film that? And how many Cokes did you drink? And he goes on his fingers, how many's in a case? 12. Well, I drank 12. Then I drank 12. Thank God they had a bathroom close by. And then I'm ready to leave. And the director goes, okay, now let's film. We're through with rehearsals.
Oh my God. So then he had to do it again.
And again and again. And they had a reunion with the kid, who now, of course, is 50-something. And Joe loves that commercial because a lot of people, that's still to this day how they know him.
Well, it's one of the best 5 best sports commercials of all time. Like,
absolutely.
You don't even have to be, around for it to know how good that is.
Premiered on Monday Night Football, October 1st, 1979. Then ran during the Super Bowl. And then everybody Joe had been a rookie in 69. So this is 11 years into his career. And all of a sudden people like, oh boy, he's not that mean after all.
So they've asked it 3 times. So I'll put you on the spot. Give me a Super Bowl prediction.
I picked Baltimore last year and thought I was going to look real good at the end. The addition of Derrick Henry, I'm going with Baltimore in the AFC. And I think finally, I want the 49ers to get in there because I like their coaches. So I'm going to say they finally win, get over the hump. They beat the Ravens in the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
God, man. Poor Kyle Shanahan, dude. Like he's just so close. Yeah, so far. I watched the Brady doc today where they stole the jersey, the game in Houston. The dude stole the jersey. And I'm just sitting there. And that's one of those where the Oilers game's like that too against the Bills. But you're just sitting there. You're like, surely they don't F this up. Even though you know what's going to happen, you're just sitting there like, man, Atlanta's not going to screw this up, right? Like you all, what an absolute cluster.
I reminded Bruce Matthews, well, you played in the biggest choke game in football history, and your son Jake just played in the biggest Super Bowl choke. And I was looking at Bruce's face, and I said, I'll see you later, Bruce.
Ooh, I didn't even think about the Matthews angle there, that they both played in it. But at least Bruce had some work to be done. Jake's probably hurts a little bit more. God, man. So you're really comfortable with him. You don't think Bruce, you got a good relationship. Bruce ain't going to put you in like some sort of chokehold or something like that.
Yeah, I'm too quick. I'm too quick for him.
Okay, I see you walk, John. I know better than that, my friend. I've seen that 15-minute walk from parking to the
22
practice field. I've seen that. Yeah, you run a 15-minute from car to field.
No, I don't run.
Well, walk.
I waddle.
Yeah, and it ain't Jalen Waddle. It's McClain Waddle. It ain't as smooth as that. John, I appreciate you, man.
Landry, thank you very much. Thanks to all your listeners and viewers. I appreciate you guys coming on with us. And anytime you want to have me, let me know, because I am always up at 10:30.
See, you know how you said you went from the paper to the digital to the radio, now digital. So we got to get your digital up. This is the pretty popular stream around here. So yeah, we'll do that. I'll hold you up to that, man.
I do 9 podcasts and streaming shows a week, so you'd be number 10. So just say when, because I like to do them late.
No, I wouldn't be number 10. I'd be number 1.
Yes, you'd be number 1, of course.
2 through 10, okay? Yeah.
One more thing.
I ain't no number 10. I ain't getting no sloppy tents from you.
Hike it, Landry.
Okay, one more time. Appreciate you, my friend.
All right, thanks a lot.
That's my guy, John McClain. God, I love that guy. Very nice to hear from the general. Little loose, man. Like, we're not sitting here, just treading water. We're having a good time. So shout out to everyone. The Mark Berman interview, he was very candid, very deep. Pause, but he was like really had a lot of depth to him, a lot of information. I think you'll love it. A lot goes into being as good at your job as Mark Berman was. And I think he kind of looks back in an interesting way. So you won't want to miss that. Thanks to Berman. Thanks to McClain. Got some other big guests coming through. Tomorrow, though, this is one of my specialties, post-game show. King of Reaction Monday, king of localizing, and the king of the post-game show. The best Texans post-game show after every game right here. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. It does go a long, long way. And always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Thanks for coming through.
We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localized every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah.